George Clooney didn't just wake up 2 days ago and decide he was going to write an opinion piece in the New York Times calling for Joe Biden to drop out of the presidential race. That's not how it went down. I promise you. It was a carefully coordinated, carefully calculated plan involving many people very high up in Democratic news media and also in the Democratic Party, who said, if anybody can get Joe out, it's not going to be members of his own party in Congress. It might just be George Clooney.
Let's get people's sexiest man of the year to break the news to the people, right?
If they can't get John Anthony, they've got George Clooney.
Hey, with friends like George, who needs enemies, right? Was he raising money for the guy a couple of weeks ago?
Exactly right. So that's part of how this op-ed went in the New York Times. George Clooney dropped this. It came down right after we got off the air yesterday, and he writes, "I love Joe Biden." I mean, that's his first kind of
he's a cuckoo bird.
Odd statement. But George Clooney writes, "I love Joe Biden as a senator, as a vice president, and as a president. I consider him a friend, and I believe in him." But Clooney added, the Joe Biden that he saw back on June 15th in that fundraiser that went viral when Obama was, ushering him off the stage, quote, was not the Joe Big Effin' Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. George Clooney writing here, he was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. So it's interesting to me that most people have seen this firsthand in media, in Hollywood, those of us who follow the news. I mean, maybe we didn't see how bad it was, but we saw all these different situations happen and unfold with our own two eyes. But remember, the media told us that we were being lied to or we were the liars up until that debate night. Because once we all saw what we all saw on that debate stage, there was no going back. They couldn't lie to you anymore. They couldn't tell you that what you were seeing was fictitious or what you were hearing was fictitious. They knew that the game was over. So now you have George Clooney, who I guess has some kind of relationship with Biden, dropping this op-ed yesterday in the New York Times saying, you know what, it's time for Joe to go. But it's amazing that these people would have never said that had we not all witnessed what we all witnessed on that debate stage 2 weeks ago tonight. And that just goes to show you how disingenuous these people are. Whether it's George Clooney or it's, people like Nicole Wallace on MSNBC, who just 3 weeks ago, after this George Clooney fundraiser, was trying to explain to her audience that what you saw was nothing to be concerned about. It was nothing but cheap fakes.
There's a growing and insidious trend in right-wing media, broadcast, print, and social media. It is to take highly misleading and selectively edited videos of President Biden directly from Republican National Committee social media accounts and then use those videos to spread messages virally to cast doubt on President Biden's fitness for office. Here is this headline from the New York Post, quote, Biden appears to freeze up, has to be led off stage by Obama at Megabucks LA fundraiser. The full video posted by Biden finance chair on Twitter shows something entirely different. Biden reacting to applause and then walking off stage with former President Obama.
You tell me, to use Nicole Wallace's word of choice there from MSNBC, who is being insidious? The official definition of insidious is, quote, characterized by treachery or slyness, crafty, wily. You tell me, over the last several weeks, who exactly would fit the billing of the word insidious? Would it be, the New York Post, as she called out? Would it be us here on KCMO? We certainly talked about that when it happened. Of course, you can talk about Fox News. Or would it be the people who spent the last several months telling you that what you were seeing and, what Joe Biden was doing and how he was acting was nothing to be concerned about? It was all just cheap fakes, deep fakes. Don't believe your lying eyes. Who was being insidious all along, Nicole Wallace? I think we know the answer. And now you look at it, and here's what's amazing. MSNBC just had its lowest ratings of the year. I kid you not. MSNBC with its lowest ratings of the year. I saw this last night. I want to make sure I have the numbers right. I want to say it was about 500,000 viewers for MSNBC. Here we go. 569,000 viewers. That was the average viewership for a show on MSNBC. Their lowest weekly audience of 2024. So the audience crashed after that debate 2 Thursdays ago, which tells me even the diehard base, the diehard Democratic voter, the Subaru driving ex-hippie is even over MSNBC. And they are so fed up that they're not even seeking propaganda to feel better anymore. That's the amazing part. They are not seeking their preferred propaganda to feel better about themselves. And that's why this infighting has been absolutely tremendous for a guy like Donald J. Trump, who's sitting there just kicking back. He did a rally in Florida the other night. He's not doing much. He's got the convention next week. He still hasn't announced a VP. Who's it going to be? It's kind of this waiting game. And he's smart to wait it out on Joe's side. Trump is smart to wait this thing out for as long as he can to see what happens with Joe Biden. And today could be, we've all thought, what's the final nail in the coffin? Is it the George Clooney op-ed from yesterday? I don't know. But today, Joe Biden's doing a full-blown press conference, 4:30 Central Time. It's going to be, obviously, in the wake of the NATO meetings this week, but there's going to be other stuff that comes up. And if he's got any chance to save himself, it will come today. Best case scenario for Joe Biden, he just gets through it without any major slip-ups and awful moments. But if you're the Democratic establishment who's trying to get him out, you want this guy to blow himself up today. Let's be honest. That's what a lot of people are going to want. And it sounds like that is a growing theme within the Democratic ranks. Willard's in Independence. What's up, Willard? You're kicking it off on a Thursday. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm well, my man. What's going on?
Well, I've called in a couple of times. I just wanted to remind everyone that the Democrats have been doing this for a long time now, and I've completely changed my attitude towards the Democratic Party. I always thought there was some people you could pull together and vote for, too, on the other side. But right now I'm very suspicious. And to be quite frank, I still get shocked. Don't forget that they had Dianne Feinstein on there for several months, and they were pretending that she was totally fine. And then when they blew up in their face on national television during one of the press conferences or one of the meetings that they had in Congress, don't forget that they were acting like, oh, she's never been like this before.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the same thing play over again because they have all these people patting each other on the back, and they're in total denial because there's no one around them challenging them very much.
It's certainly a problem in our national political discourse. Thank you, Willard. There's no doubt about it. We've got way too many ancient people running the show and in charge. That is indisputable. And, Dianne Feinstein last fall is certainly an example of that. Joe Biden this year is an example of that. Indisputable. But as the Babylon Bee said last year, Senator Feinstein's death not expected to affect her reelection campaign. So, that's how it goes, too, in the party sometimes, 913-4087-95.7. Today, 4:30, you don't want to miss it. This could be the unofficial end of Joe Biden's presidency today, depending on how this press conference goes. 913-4087-95.7. We also have a big morning ahead. What's coming down this morning that also could impact Joe Biden and what's happening with his reelection bid. It is news that is coming down this morning. We'll tell you what that is and get to you coming up next on 95.7 FM, KCMO. Quote, "We are not going to win in November with this president." That is from George Clooney. By the way, if you're one of the hot shots in Hollywood who went to the fundraiser because of George Clooney, let's be honest. You're not going to the fundraiser because of Joe Biden. If you're going to a fundraiser, dropping, I got to imagine you're paying at least tens of thousands of dollars to be there. That fundraiser raised $28 million for Joe Biden's reelection campaign. Are you asking for a refund? Or is that like not kosher in Hollywood circles? Once your money's gone, it's gone, especially if you're giving it to Democrats.
No, some poor minion is on the phone. I feel sorry for those people sometimes when I see them. They got to work with the egos and the narcissism.
So you're saying that the Hollywood elites have their assistants calling up someone at Team Biden?
I bet more than one.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah. Get on the phone and you get that money.
Yeah, you get that check back.
Otherwise, don't come in tomorrow. That kind of stuff.
I don't know.
Swimming with the sharks.
Yeah, I don't even know how that works. Like, can you get your money back? I don't know. I've only donated to one presidential campaign in my life, and it was a buddy of mine who was working back in 2012. Would it have been 2012? Yeah, I think it would have been 2012 for Scott Walker, former governor of Wisconsin. He was all on the Scott Walker train, and Scott Walker, went down in flames. He was, red governor, blue state. He was going to be the governor guy, and then he had one debate, and he was a disaster.
Where's Andrew Yang when you need him?
Yeah, where's the Yang gangers? Where are they at?
So, in a technical thing, though, right, if this money is donated to Biden's campaign,
correct,
it could only transfer to Kamala Harris or Kamala or
whatever she's calling herself today.
The VP.
Yes.
Right. So there's a technicality here about that money.
Well, that's the thing, too. If you're one of these donors, you're like, gosh, you better not throw my money away.
Yeah.
So it's Joe or it's Kamala. Top of the ticket. That's all they've got. So today at 7:30, the CPI is going to drop. That's the inflation number. So obviously with Joe Biden doing his first, as they're calling it in the White House, big boy press conference today. Their words. Not mine. This is John Kirby 2 days ago.
After that, the president will hold a press conference. I guess a big boy press conference is what we're calling it, and take some questions from y'all.
The crazy part is he admitted they're calling it that. Joe's doing his first big boy press conference today, and then he's going to go potty in the big boy toilet. Like, goodness gracious, you get people. I know you're not trying to embarrass your boss, but you are embarrassing your boss. It's unbelievable. It's John Kirby saying that 2 days ago at the White House. Joe's going to do his first big boy press conference today. And then he's going to, pull up his big boy pants and the whole thing. Like, gosh, you guys are unbelievable. So that's coming today at 4:30. The inflation number will drop today at 7:30. That's going to be part of the conversation. No matter what the number comes in at, how it gets spun is going to be very telling. Because obviously, on the economic front, the inflation has been the thing that has hurt this Biden reelection bid and this Biden presidency on Main Street as much as anything. And yes, you can say it's coming down, but inflation compounds. It's not like the number goes down so the prices come back to where they were. They're just not going up as quickly when they were going up, at 40-year highs just 2 years ago. 913-408-7957. So it's going to be a huge news day, and we'll have you covered all day here on KCMO 95.7 FM. Victor is in Parkville. He is on KCMO. What's up, Victor?
Good morning, Pete. Yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, it's sad, but it's interesting. They lied to us from the beginning. They hid him away. We all saw it. We couldn't work the remote camera, couldn't read a simple script, but they drug him across the line. Those of us who, saw the obvious decline over the last 3.5 years, we all saw what was going on, but they all lied.
Well, and that's the thing. George Clooney even writes in his op-ed on the New York Times, he said, Joe Biden is not even the Joe Biden of 2020. So he's admitting he's not the guy he was 3.5 years ago.
Well, absolutely. It's obvious. They all lied. The media, the friends, the family, the Dems in Congress who were saying he was in the background doing push-ups and doing all this crap and couldn't keep up with them when we're 25. And everyone in his administration. And I am so disappointed with that freaking former admiral who's now a spokesperson and lying like through his teeth. I'm so disappointed. Anyway, the thing is, he was lying to everybody, but he wasn't lying to us. He wasn't lying to the critical thinkers who witnessed it all and easily deduced the truth. He was lying to people like Larry. He was lying to people like my eldest brother who bought into the crap. But you know what? My best friend was out visiting, and his wife is total left-wing liberal. You don't get more pro-abortion than her, and she saw what this guy did, and she's voting for Trump. So there's still hope.
Wait, she's voting for Trump?
Yes. He actually told me that. I practically fell off my chair because she's seen what he's done to the country. She's seen what he's done to the economy, and she sees that he cannot function. Now,
and is that also because she sees her abortion issue, which you're telling me is her top issue, as a state issue?
We kind of got into that, but I think she does. She's willing to say that that's a state issue when it's out of the presidential hands.
Wow.
So she sees that it's out of the hand.
All right. Thank you, Victor.
What they're going to use this Parkinson issue. They're going to get him to where he can say that he can't run, but he can finish out his term.
All right, Victor. Thank you, buddy. Interesting stuff.
Have a good day, sir.
You too, buddy. Jim is out east. Hey, Jim, you're on KCMO. Good morning.
Yeah, Pete, they have to call it the big boy meeting because they can't call it the big guy.
Oh, gosh. Thank you very much there, Jim out east. All right. People are asking on the text line, Mark. They want to hear from you. Does Mark have a parlay on Biden's 4:30 press conference today on what he's going to say? I don't know if you can find that on some of the offshore accounts, but the people want to know.
Like words he's going to say?
Words he's going to say.
Times he's going to stumble?
Yes, yeah.
I'll look for it.
Yeah, give us some deep dive research. The text line is buzzing. They want your insight, Mark. Paul in Kansas City. Go, Paul.
Hey, Pete, Chicago has spoken. Obama has set out the hit on the Biden family. That Clooney letter, in my opinion, was directed by the Chicago syndicate. As soon as that letter came out, his surrogates hit CNN and just started blasting blasting Biden's. So Obama's made it very clear. And that stage at the fundraiser when Obama grabs him and takes him off the stage, I think that was premeditated too. So Obama's got his hand all in this, and I think he's made it very clear that he's going to take out Biden.
You know, I know that's been a common theme, that this is all Obama pulling the strings. But I got to imagine if Obama had the juice that we all assume he has, Joe would be gone by now. I'm not saying Obama's still not like the biggest power broker, but in this specific instance, I do wonder if we are overvaluing Obama's power right now. Because there's no way Barack Obama would have allowed this thing to have gone on as long as it's gone on the last 2 weeks. This thing would have been over by now. I mean, he's trying to maybe pressure through Clooney, but it would have been over by now if Obama truly was getting whatever he wanted. News coming up in 2 minutes then. People in Westport are finally starting to speak up. We'll tell you why next. I love it when hardworking Kansas Cityans step up to the plate and start talking about the issues in their communities, and they start calling out the nonsense happening all over town. I love it. And it's disappointing it's come to this, but it's long overdue. So you had this happen in Westport, and listen, there's been certainly plenty of crime in the Westport area, unfortunately, in recent years. We've spent a lot of time covering some of the homicides that have taken place, oftentimes late at night, very early in the morning after most people have gone home. But still, it ends up being a huge black eye for the entire district. Well, yesterday, this was on KMBC Channel 9, a burglary in which a stolen car crashed into a high-end sneaker store has prompted employees to call for improved security measures. The aftermath of the crime has left the DVA Persists, that's the name of the high-end sneaker store, with a makeshift door. And employees are eager for a resolution, writes Channel 9. Here's some of what the employees at DVA Persists are saying to KMBC Channel 9 in their news from last night.
Employees say crime is getting out of control.
I think they should clean up as much as they can and make it a safer place for people to feel safer.
We have Westport security, but honestly, they don't do too much for us. Like, they walked by literally an hour after it happened and said, "Oh, what happened?" Well, if you're security, how have you not already seen this? And, I don't know. It's unfortunate. Maybe there does need to be more security.
Right now, this makeshift door is all that's left after the crime that happened, but employees are hoping to get answers soon.
All right. Employees are hoping to get answers soon. By the way, those 2 employees should be fired promptly by the end of business today. No, I mean, they shouldn't be. They should be heroes. They're putting themselves on camera and saying, hey, security's got to get better around here. These sneaker store employees in Westport are doing things that business owners who have a lot more at stake, who have, 6-figure, 7-figure business operations down there in Westport are willing to do because they're not cowards, because they have backbones, because they have common sense. And that's not the case for too many of the Westport business owners because they're afraid to ruffle the wrong feathers. They're afraid to piss off someone at City Hall. Oh, they don't want to be on the wrong side of somebody in the donor class in Kansas City. Oh, we don't want to make Quentin Lucas look bad, or we don't want to make, fill-in-the-blank councilman or councilwoman look bad. We wouldn't want that. I ask these folks all the time. I mean, Bill Nigro is a guy who comes on this show. He owns businesses down there in Westport. Obviously, he has for decades. He'll come on, and he'll call it like it is down there in Westport. But so many won't. So many just are afraid. It's the same thing with, Power and Light. It's the same thing with the plaza. You reach out to these people in these entertainment districts, and I say to them, hey, guys, why don't you come on and let's get some attention to some of your issues and talk about how, you need cops, you got to have awareness, you like law enforcement, you want them to be active and present in your community, it's good for your business, it's good for your customers. Let's talk about, we can't do that. No, we don't want to be too controversial. Controversial? You know what's controversial? Getting your store robbed, driven into, driving away potential customers who can shop online, who can shop in Town Center, who can shop in Zona Rosa, who can shop in any number of places around Kansas City. People with money have options. I know.
Talk about a bombshell.
They do not have to go to the plaza. They do not have to go to Westport. They do not have to go to Power and Light. And if there is a feeling or a sense of lack of safety and security, they're not going to do it. And then you're left with the scraps. You're left with the people that you don't want. And I don't know when it's going to click for these business owners, but I'm like, we got 2 sneaker store employees. So we're like, yeah, sure, I'll talk. We need more security. Yeah, we'll say something. These guys are probably making $15 an hour selling sneakers. And, yeah, we'll talk to Channel 9, KMBC. Sure, get some more damn security down here. Get some cops around this place. The business owners, the people who actually own the businesses won't do it. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. And I don't know what the powers that be in this town have on these people, but it's like Chamber of Commerce. Why don't you start barking up that tree? We don't want to do that. Come on now. We want to go down that road. I just can't get over it. Because if things don't improve for these entertainment districts, they're all going to hell in a handbasket. Westport, okay, it's already, I think, in not great shape. I wouldn't go down. I hate to say it, but I would go down for lunch. That's about it. I was down on the plaza yesterday. It's, maybe looking a little better, but still a lot of empty storefronts down there. Power and Light used to live downtown, and nice, but unless I'm going for a concert, I'm just not going down in my spare time. And I don't say that with any joy. I say that out of sadness. I want to desire to be in some of these places. I do. I want Kansas City and these entertainment districts to thrive. But they can't get out of their own damn way. And that's their problem. On the text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, security, that's a hoot. Remember a few years ago, Plaza Security was caught on camera looting and stealing wine and groceries from the supermarket? That was on the west end of the plaza. I do not remember that. I don't. Maybe it was before we got here 7 years ago, but I don't remember that. All I know is this much. The Westport has its own security. Remember, they have their own security at night where they make you go through metal detectors and the whole thing. But then what happens? It gets late at night, bars shut down, security goes away, and that's when things get a little hairy. Pete, there's a great fear that at City Hall, they will come down and they will send the bureaucrats to your business if you start making too many complaints. Well, I mean, that's mafia-esque if that's true. And, that's stuff like, I know the health department used to do that nonsense under its former dictator, Rex Archer.
Thanksgiving.
Oh.
Boy, I love Thanksgiving.
I remember that used to happen under that slob.
We got a long tradition of that, though, with the Pendergast. It's a Kansas City thing.
It never went away, I suppose, in some respects.
Don't know if it went away or not.
Yeah.
It was underground, at least.
Yeah, exactly right. But if that's true, I mean, what a damn shame. What a damn shame. Because when Kansas City is thriving, it's good for all of us, right? I mean, look at what's happening right now with the sports teams. One of the many reasons I think it's best for the teams to stay in Kansas City proper is because it's good for the city. And to be clear, I don't live in the city. I don't work in the city. But I understand that I do genuinely want this city to thrive because it's good for all of us in the surrounds, as Quentin Lucas would call it on his X page. And Quentin Lucas is set to be here coming up at 7:30 this morning. We have the inflation report dropping next hour as well. So it's going to be a very active morning here on KCMO. The next chance at the Morgan Wallen Flyaway is coming up at 7:50 here on 95.7 FM, and we are streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Today's the day. It could be the day that the President of the United States puts the final nail in the coffin of his reelection bid, or it could be the day that he survives. And with every day that Joe Biden survives, it's more likely he makes it to the DNC, the convention coming up in August in Chicago, and then, of course, on his way to November as the nominee, which I don't think will work out well for him. But, as the old story goes, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Jill has no interest in going anywhere. They are all in, full steam ahead, and no one is telling them off. I mean, I've used the clip here the last couple of weeks, but it's so true. This is very much Wolf of Wall Street-esque.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
The show goes on.
The show goes on, says Joe Biden, trailing in the polls to Donald Trump, who he led by double digits at this point 4 years ago. I mean, I don't know what show we're watching. It's crashing and burning, but sometimes those are the most entertaining shows.
If he comes out at the press conference and does that line, that would actually be hilarious.
In the words of my good friend George Clooney, what's his good name again? What's the guy's name again? What? Tom Cruise? No, it's not Tom Cruise. God, read the prompter, Joe. Oh yeah, Leonardo oh, I gotta poop.
The Thing.
Oh, brother. Oh, man, that would be great. He could start off the NATO press conference with that today at 4:30. This could be the thing that sinks him or keeps him alive today. 4:30 is when it goes down. Of course, Joe Biden's been hosting NATO this week, and today at 4:30 he will have the big boy press conference, as they're calling it, in front of the media. And for those of you who think that the media is going to, have the questions pre-planned and he's going to go down his list as he's done in the past and ask specific reporters questions that he already has, I don't think so. The media knives are out. That's what we've seen the last 2 weeks. Because I think the media, I don't think they have a lot of self-awareness, generally speaking. But I do feel like there's a level of embarrassment where the media feels like it's been caught. And the media is trying to maintain a semblance of credibility in all this. And now that the jig is up, now that, the American people see what's going on with their own two eyes, they have to actually act like journalists. So I think there's a little bit of that going on. And I think there's a lot of, gosh, we don't want Trump to win, so Joe, you got to go. I don't believe today is going to be like it's been in the past when Joe has sparingly done these press conferences and he picks up his piece of paper and he asks specific reporters questions he knows are coming. I think it's going to be old school. What you saw during the Trump years, what you saw during, frankly, every presidency in modern American history, where the president gets up there and he's got to answer questions and he doesn't know what direction it's going to go. And I don't think the media is going to hold back because they clearly have made it obvious to anybody watching, anybody reading, from CNN to MSNBC to the New York Times, they want him gone. The power brokers want him gone. The leaders in the party want him gone. They're over it. They're done. And they're also sick of getting grilled in the hallways of Congress about this. Like Nancy Pelosi yesterday got a little short with a reporter from ABC who was walking alongside her in the hallway and was asking about Joe Biden. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? What should he do? Now, usually this is the kind of treatment that the media reserves for only Republicans. So it's fascinating to see the shoe on the other foot and have this happening to Nancy Pelosi, who's getting, tough questions from an ABC reporter as she's just strolling through the hallways of Congress.
Do you believe that him waiting so long to make this decision?
I'm not going to be making any comments in the hallway about the fate of our nation. Okay?
Are you concerned whether or not he can win in November?
I think he can win.
I think he
can
win.
Do you think he should run for re-election?
I'm not speaking English to you.
Am I not?
I'm not going to be making any statements about any of that right now in the hallway.
She turns and looks at the reporter and says, am I not speaking English to you? Gosh. It is fun when they get a dose of their own medicine, isn't it?
Oh, I love it.
I just, gosh, it really just,
Not here in the hallway.
Yeah. Meantime, for 4 years of Donald Trump in the White House, every Republican was in the hallway. Hey, what do you think of Trump's tweets last night? Like, that was nonstop for 4 years. And it still is. Like, Republicans, do you believe in climate change, Senator? Like, they just get all this nonsense in the hallways. I've seen it firsthand. When we've done shows in D.C. and I'll, go meet with somebody, you see these goober media folks just, like, yelling at people. And I get it. Some of them are doing their job, but it's always a one-way street. Now it's going the other way. And I'm just sitting here kicking my feet up and saying, it's kind of fun to watch. To see Nancy Pelosi, in her mid-80s getting grilled by media. And they don't like it, by the way. They don't. They don't want any more of it. Which is one of the reasons I think these folks want him out. Now, Tim Kaine, U.S. Senator from Virginia. Remember, he was on Hillary Clinton's ticket, one of the strangest VP picks of all time, Tim Kaine. He was also in the hallways of Congress yesterday, asked about this, and he had a different approach from Nancy Pelosi.
I have complete confidence that Joe Biden will do the patriotic thing for the country, and he's going to make that decision. He's never disappointed me. He's always put patriotism and the country ahead of himself, and I'm going to respect that decision that he makes.
He's always put patriotism of the country ahead of himself. I mean, it's literally the last thing the guy's done, but, that's besides the point on that comment there from Tim Kaine. It's funny, too, to hear a lot of these people who want Joe to drop out but are not willing to say it. Whether it's Pelosi, whether it's Tim Kaine. I know Joe will do the right thing. It's like, here's how this has gone. This is what the conversation's been like, right? Joe Biden says he's staying in the race. And then you get Democratic leaders who are like, when the time is right, Joe will do what he needs to do for the country. And then Biden says, no, I'm staying in the race. And then Democrats are asked about this, and they're like, we love Joe, and Joe's a patriot, and when the time's right, Joe will make the right decision for him. And then Joe's like, no, I'm really staying in the race. Like, guys, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in the race. The show goes on. As Leonardo DiCaprio, a.k.a. Jordan Belfort, famously said. And then they're asked again. And they're like, we believe in Joe, and Joe's going to do the right thing for his family. And then Joe comes back, and his team comes back, and they're like, I don't think you are hearing us. We are not going anywhere. And now the Democrats are like, take your time, Joe. Take your time on this decision. And he's like, I've made the decision, damn it. I'm not going anywhere. And then they're like, George Clooney says you should go, but we believe in you and your timeline whenever it's right. And around and around and around we go. And I'm just sitting here like, Michael Jackson in Thriller with my popcorn, popping the popcorn, popping the kernels, kicking my feet up, and watching the show. And that's what everybody should be doing right now. I thought about it. I'm like, gosh, we're living, it's cliche, but we are living through history right now. There will be multiple history books written about what is happening right now in this country. And it's the top story. I mean, the debate changed the entire narrative. Up until the debate, I was always kind of like, we got this election happening. It's these two guys from 2020. Hey, there's not a lot to say again about these two. But the last 2 weeks, the entire narrative around the world has changed because of how that debate went. Pete, this is on the text line, 913-408-7957. This is all a setup. Democrats are setting Biden up to fail today in this press conference. He's so out of it he doesn't realize, and Jill is praying that Joe can pull it off. See, I don't think so. I don't. I disagree with that. One thing that's been very clear is that Joe Biden and Jill Biden and the team genuinely believe that he is capable of pulling this off. And they probably figure as well, it's 5:30 in the evening or late afternoon, whatever you want to call it. It's not 9 o'clock at night like that debate a couple of weeks ago. And the bar is going to be so low. If he just doesn't have the incredible mental mistakes that he had in the debate 2 weeks ago, they can call it a win. Right? They can, Joe did great because he made sense sort of and talked in complete sentences. So unless there is just a disastrous moment like there were 2 weeks ago, and there were multiple 2 weeks ago, then he's going to be okay. And that's the worst case scenario for those who want him to drop out. If he just does good enough that he doesn't fall on his face, then he keeps going. And he can say, see, it was really just a bad night. This wouldn't be happening if Jill wasn't good with it. And yes, I'm sure she's certainly praying that he can pull it off. But at the same time, they may have round 2 of one of these 2 weeks ago.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
You knew all the facts. Woo!
And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
Lie! Joe, you answered all the questions. It's we now have the girls setting the table every night. Claire's in charge of filling up the water bottles. Chloe puts out the utensils. Great job, girls. You put out your utensils tonight for dinner. You put the napkins where they need to be. And, Trump's a liar. We always end our, comments to our kids with, Trump's a liar. That's what we do.
Remember when Melania came out and supported Trump that way?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Said no one ever. Oh, man. Melania is a little bit MIA, but she's never done that to Donald Trump. Could you imagine him ever allowing something like that? My goodness gracious. Never in a million years. But I don't know if we're going to get that after the NATO press conference tonight, but you get the point. I think they realize the bar is very low. He's going to get up there. He's going to handle himself okay based on the expectations, and that's going to be it. And, then they're going to move on to tomorrow. And he's doing a sit-down, by the way, with Lester Holt. So Joe Biden's got this interview that was announced yesterday with Lester Holt, and, that's telling to me as well, because once again, that means they're sending him out there. He's going to do a sit-down one-on-one on Monday in Austin, Texas. The full interview is going to air in its entirety during a primetime special that evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, on NBC on Monday night. So, they're going to turn that thing around. I don't think it's going to be all that highly edited because the turnaround time's pretty quick. Now they can slice and dice as they see fit. But, once again, he's out there and he's just doing the thing. And they're like, no, this is full steam ahead, man. And it's either going to end up, like a kamikaze pilot, or he's somehow going to get a soft landing on this deal. Walter's in Spring Hill. Go ahead, Walter.
I hope I'm wrong about this, but I don't trust the Democrat Party. And if they really want him out, I think there could be an accident where a ball hits his head and they make it look like an accident. Or it could be a Clinton-style suicide, 2 shots in the back of the
head. Thank you, Walter. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you said it yourself. You prefaced your own comments saying you don't want that to happen, and I don't think anybody does. I mean, I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, is he going to make it to Monday? And I mean as the candidate. Because if you want to talk about upending things, it would be a smart move. If you're going to drop out, if you're Biden, do it Sunday night, because then you've got the Republican National Convention that would basically take away a bulk of the attention from you and the party, which is what you want right now. You don't want to do it and then be the lead story. Not that you could avoid a story that big, but at least you would have the Republican National Convention going on at the same time, which would soften some of the blow. So if he makes it to Monday, then it really might be full steam ahead. It has just been fascinating. And typically, in the mornings, you got to keep a show moving, right? A morning show, you got to keep it moving. You got to have some calls. You got to mix in some texts, some guests, but it's got to stay moving. But typically, you go into a morning show, how you have to keep it moving. You're going from this story to that story, and you know what you're going to do. But the great thing about the last couple of weeks is that the news is changing in the morning, and that's typically not the case. So this morning, I'm looking at Fox right now. They say that Joe Biden is set to meet with Senate Democrats today. So this is going to be a wild day, right? You have this George Clooney op-ed yesterday come out asking for Joe Biden to drop out. I guess they're buddies, so they're trying to put the Hollywood pressure on Joe to drop out. You have this inflation report come out this morning that is still too hot, 3.0% inflation. The target's for 2%, 50% higher than you want it to be. But, some good news. If you're Joe Biden, it did not exceed the expectation, so that's good. You've got a press conference coming up at 4:30 this afternoon that could be the final nail in the coffin for his campaign, or it could be the thing that propels him forward. We don't know. And now you have this meeting taking place today with Senate Democrats and Joe Biden, where we assume he is going to try to convince Senate Democrat leadership that he's the man for the job. And this comes after the first Democrat in the U.S. Senate has called for him to exit the race. Peter Welch of Vermont said Biden should withdraw for the good of the country. This came down last night, and he became the first Democratic senator to make such a call. And he pointed to Kamala Harris as a capable successor. Now, that's a tough spot, buddy. That's a tough spot. But either way, what else are you going to do, right? He wrote in the Washington Post, his constituents, quote, are worried that Biden can't win this time, and they're terrified of another Trump presidency. So he's the first one, and sometimes it just takes one for the floodgates to open. Now, nothing else has happened yet. There is pressure also on Chuck Schumer for him to basically call for Joe Biden to drop out. There has been reporting that Chuck Schumer is talking to more Democratic donors, and he's starting to get pretty nervous. But an Axios report yesterday said that he is open and privately signaling to donors that he is open to a Democratic presidential ticket that is not led by Joe Biden. But then the question is, do they have enough faith and trust in Kamala Harris? Because she's the only other option. They cannot let all the money go away. Many of you have asked this on the text line, and I know we've mentioned it, but I understand the audience is constantly turning over. The only way they can retain all the money that Joe Biden has raised for the reelection campaign is if Kamala Harris tops the ticket. If they go to Gavin Newsom, the money that Joe Biden has raised and that they have in the campaign coffers, north of $100 million, can't go to anybody else outside of Kamala Harris. So what are you going to tell the donor class? Hey, don't worry about it. I appreciate the $1 million check. We'll get them next time. No. I know these people are wildly wealthy beyond, most of our imaginations, but still, you're talking about people giving 6 figures and 7 figures to campaigns or, PACs, whatever it might be, but they're giving a ton of money to get this guy reelected. 2 weeks ago, George Clooney raised $28 million for him. Imagine how much of a sucker you must feel like after giving, theoretically Clooney, Biden, Obama a massive check. And what do you have to show for it? Less than 2 weeks later, the guy's falling all over himself on a debate stage. It's just wild. So that's how you end up in the scenario where they really don't know what to do. And as Trump said the other night at his rally in Florida, the best insurance policy that Joe Biden's got is his own vice president.
But whatever else can be said about crooked Joe Biden, you have to give him credit for one brilliant decision, probably the smartest decision he's ever made. He picked Kamala Harris as his vice president. No, it was brilliant. Because it was an insurance policy, maybe the best insurance policy I've ever seen, Marco. If Joe had picked someone even halfway competent, they would have bounced him from office years ago, but they can't because she's got to be their second choice. He has no choice and no chance.
He has no choice. She is. What are you guys laughing at there? I see these two smirking and snickering away.
No choice and no chance.
Yeah, the condescension is.
Even when he's not trying to be funny, he's funny.
Yeah,
that's what you love. Those are the kind of people you love. But he brings up a very good point. Like, can Kamala get it done? And that's got to be the internal conversation happening right now. Can she be the one that turns the tide? And I know some suggest that maybe Trump will have a tougher time with a, female at the top of the ticket. And it just takes, one dopey comment from him that may, set the campaign ablaze and the whole deal versus beating up on, old Joe Biden, which is easy and amusing. But I'm also like, man, she couldn't get herself to the Iowa caucuses. Let's not forget, she ran for president in 2020. The media loved her. They wanted Kamala to be the person, but she was polling so poorly, she dropped out before the Iowa caucuses and before her home state of California, which was a week after the Iowa caucuses. She didn't want to be embarrassed in her own home state. She has never really connected with voters in any meaningful way. She rode the gravy train in California to a U.S. Senate seat, and, God bless her for that. But once you get in the Democratic political machine in California, you get the right people behind you. A vegetable could end up in the U.S. Senate. That's what you had with Dianne Feinstein at the end, a literal vegetable. So that's not really, generally speaking, all that impressive. I don't think she can do the top of the ticket. I don't. No matter how much they tried to protect her, I don't think it would happen. And I certainly don't think she could carry it. And I've got to imagine that many in the administration right now and the donor class are of the same mindset. And even the people like George Clooney writing the op-eds. If George Clooney thought Kamala was ready to carry the torch, he would have written that. It's also what they don't say. It's what they don't include. And not including Kamala is very telling for these people who are calling for Joe Biden to drop out. Now, some of them are saying, sure, go ahead. Like this guy, Peter Welch, he claims that Kamala would be the right person for the job, this U.S. Senator from Vermont. But a lot of them aren't saying it. And it's what they're not saying that needs to be noted as well. Governor Mike Parson is coming up at the bottom of the hour on KCMO 95.7 FM, streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app all morning long.